Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to the Super Junior Dudes podcast as featured on the Pink City Twitch channel. That was episode 8. Hope you guys enjoyed
Hello.
that. Episode 8, the one with the
Hachi.
flashbacks. Thank you for tuning in. Thanks to everyone in chat for watching our very silly episode with lots of lore and backstory, but ended with a nice little sausage. Puppy sausage scene. But I truly love that episode a lot. It's just like a nice little wind down from the absolute mad. Well, kind of a wind down from the madness, but also like some of the flashbacks were pretty heavy. But before we kind of talk about the episode a little bit, I just want to point out Amy's little alien eyes. You wore those not even knowing what the hell happened in this episode, not even knowing there's like these psycho slug creatures like that are like the core of this episode. So
I had no clue.
That's a fun little
So we have a guest psycho slug.
Yeah, psycho slug on the roster. But yeah, Amy, as the person who was not a player during this episode, what are your initial thoughts?
It was hilarious. Like, it was definitely a comedic episode.
Yeah.
It felt like this would be like the beach episode in an anime, or like what do you call it, filler?
But it's not. It is what it isn't. There's like so much important information.
But I think the important information gets outshined by all the comedic stuff.
Yeah. There are some pretty heavy laughs in this episode. At the very beginning, like the build up to like the main chunk of the episode.
Mike's mic wasn't working.
Mike wasn't miking. Mike is back now.
With Sparkles, the shoe shining robot. That was a bit of a crazy thing to encounter. Figuring out that Sparkles, or the second Sparkles that you've encountered, they all share a consciousness and a hive mind, and you guys are on the run.
You kind of like, I feel like I don't know if you can speak to this or not, but like I feel like when you brought the him back into frame, I don't know if it was because we were poking so much with him that you started giving us like scary pieces of information, but like it definitely gave me a vibe for the rest of this season.
Well, the first time you guys met Sparkles, the shoe shining robot, was on Zerf. And then like the interaction was so nice and sweet, and you guys were like, oh, I love this character. Like, hope he comes back. And I was like, what if he does come back? That night I was like, what if there are these shoe shining robots all over the galaxy? And then I wrote that like I came up with that they would all share like a consciousness for like optimal customer service, so they remember each client and like what their preferences are for their shoe shining and stuff, and that like each one or run into around the galaxy will recognize you, which from a customer service perspective, kind of cool. And then I think Bugaki's first reaction was like, whoa, sick. But then as you guys are both are all like supposedly dead and on the run, you're like, oh shit, here's someone who knows that we exist again.
Honestly, the way the whole interaction plays out to its resolution was it was solid.
Yeah. I truly just wanted to bring that character back because you guys liked it, and then I thought that was a cool way to do it. And
it's a funny voice.
Voice. I think that was one of the first like robot voices we had this campaign. But yeah, so to get to like the real meat of this episode, the flashbacks and the psycho slugs. When it first started happening, I really wanted it to be like unsure if what was happening was because Mikey was tripping on those drugs earlier, like him like hearing noises and stuff, but and like him like looking into those crates, and then like the psycho slugs like attacking you guys. I hope that like came out like that's how it played out to people.
It's funny because I didn't even remember that I did drugs until we started telling, and then even that kind of played out completely. There's so many the roles in this episode.
I know.
The dice tell a story. Speaking of dice,
humbled every moment.
Speaking of dice, I just want to shout out our sponsors, Misty Mountain Gaming. let's roll the fucking commercial again. We just if you didn't catch before we aired the episode, we got together and just filmed a little stupid skit just to promote Misty Mountain Gaming because they've been awesome to us. They've given us really awesome dice, and if you use the code Super15, you can get your dice for 50% off as well. So let's just roll this silly old thing again. And then suddenly, the fireworm springs from the chimney. Everybody roll initiative. Oh no. Wes, do you not have dice?
I'm gonna be honest, dude. I did not think this was that kind of game. Like, I could be creative. Don't worry. You want to get up? Here's a shoehorn. Listen. 20-sided dice. 10. 11.
Okay, Wes, you need something that has 20 sides. Just for this session, I'm gonna let you borrow this beautiful dice that I got from Misty Mountain Gaming. But don't lose it, because this is very precious dice. Don't be a shoehorn. Get all of your dice and tabletop goodies at MistyMountainGaming.com and use the code SUPER15 for 15% off. You'll never roll anything better. That's a little. I want to do some more. Yeah. Shout out to Misty Mountain Gaming. I want to shoot more little funny skits whenever we can all get together again. I mean, Amy, you live in New York, but look at your voice.
Get so nonsensical.
When we get that red-eye flight money for me.
Yeah.
I'll come every weekend.
Yeah. When we get that Super Journey Days money one day.
Yeah, Super Journey
fly
money.
out.
Fly me out every weekend.
But yeah, truly
Our commercial's gotta be so.
One here is called the Bugatti Family Jewels.
Bugaki's Family Jewels. But yeah, truly the dice rolls this episode were like so perfect because like obviously because they're flashbacks, we know that they play out in a certain way. But like the dice rolls like worked with what we all had in mind. So just a bit of like behind the scenes. Prior to this episode, I asked each player like for a couple of moments throughout their character's life that they would like to revisit as a flashback at some point in the story. You know, not telling them that there would be a fucking psycho slug that would latch onto their face and like force them to relive memories the next episode. But so that's how we kind of built out, or how I kind of built out like what content would be in this episode. You know, honestly, it was like kind of a big swing for me as like a GM because like the way this episode plays out is kind of different. Like it's kind of a weird, different way of like narrative storytelling. Like it was a lot of obviously me narrating like the flashbacks and stuff, but obviously I tried like getting you guys involved with like roles and stuff to at least give you guys a little bit of agency and like for you guys to like play out the flashbacks as your characters, like knowing that you guys like knew what happened obviously, right? But yeah, it was for me like I didn't know prior to going in if it would work. I was like in my mind I was like, oh, was this episode gonna be boring? It's just gonna be like me narrating like backstory and lore. But I think it ended up like, especially with the music and like the art and stuff, like one of the most like cinematic like sessions of TTRPG that I've ever been a part of. I think.
I think the transitions delivered because you transitioned from the flashbacks to real life and us like attacking each other.
Yeah,
that's what made it work.
That really sold it for me.
Yeah, when I was writing or like placing them and like which flashback would happen when and like in relation to where you guys were on the ship in real life. Yeah, the transitions were like so carefully curated and like I wanted to make it super cinematic in that way. So there's the film degree, Chris, hard at work. That was very, very particular. Yeah, each little like the end of each little flashback as it bled into real life. And yeah, like obviously this whole like Psycho Slug thing. This whole campaign is obviously very inspired by Gundam and Cowboy Bebop. You guys remember the Cowboy Bebop episode where there's like that shit in the fridge? And it's like that horror episode almost.
The mushrooms or something, like really bad.
Not the mushrooms. Isn't there like a slime?
It was really bad food, wasn't it? Like they
or something,
ate, like,
yeah.
The food was bad, like expired or something.
Isn't there something like that like haunts their ship? That's like on their ship and like Those weird shit.
Yes.
I don't know. I thought it was like food that was
There is a
expired and it
mushroom
became
one.
a,
There
like
is
a
a mushroom one.
psychedelic or something.
Yeah. Anyways,
Like-
this was kind of
Maybe they
inspired by
started
like
hallucinating.
yeah, like the hallucinations from that episode. Yeah, like you guys kind of being stuck on your ship, like with nowhere to go, kind of reliving all that stuff. But yeah, it was a huge narrative risk, but I think it really paid off at the end. Did you guys have any particular like moments from the flashbacks that stood out to you as like a highlight? Like, which was your favorite flashback?
Mushroom Samba.
Mushroom Samba. Yeah, that was
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah, that was the episode they trip.
Well, I'm curious. I guess what's Amy's favorite?
Yeah.
Huh?
What's Amy's favorite? What was your favorite flashback this episode?
flashback out of all the characters?
Probably my favorite is Bug Dick.
Bugaki.
Fuck
Yeah, his was special because it was like that particular one was threaded throughout the episode where you thought Cornelius Dingleberry was about to die, but then he would always like break through and come back in some way until he actually did die. I think that was D-Friend's idea. That was your idea, right? You were like with the flashback, like that kept going.
The thing about that is that like at the end of that flashback, Bugaki just kind of went away. He ran away kind of thing. And I remember thinking when that happened that like it didn't like in real life, it probably would have happened that way. But like me playing it, I was like, I kind of wanted to go and like fight the fish. It created this dynamic where after that flashback, I felt bad for like not going and fighting the fish.
Yeah.
That's exactly what Bugaki would have felt.
Yeah.
Like it creates that guilt in the character.
I think there was a lot of moments of that with Bugaki, which is great. Like even the war, like the moment where your whole like you lose your entire army in a moment. Seeing it through that glimpse, I remember there's just moments where I'm like, oh fuck, that's gonna weigh differently when you see it from this point of view. It just feels like you escaped everything.
It creates like this dynamic with Bugaki that he's kind of like a shitty character. Well, like it's uncovering more and more that he's like, there's parts of his character that are like, I playing him, I'm like, damn, like I feel bad.
I think that's perfectly normal though, because that's Bugaki's adult self looking back at him as a helpless child, reliving those traumas. That is like what people go through all the time. That's real life, man.
Yeah, that is exactly how life is.
Well, I'm just even realizing, like watching it this second time today, like beyond like editing it. There's something to be said about like knowing your character's backstory and like knowing like what has shaped your character's decisions like now or whatever and how they are now, but then to like relive it and like see it played out in front of you like inspires like so many different feelings. Like even like watching it, like I'm like, damn, like when you like see the nitty-gritty details of each little interaction, like in that flashback, every little thing that happens, like if I was Bugaki, I'd be like, and I like thought back to that, I'd be like, damn, I am so guilty. But obviously, baby Bugaki wouldn't have been able to do anything in that situation.
Totally.
But then there's also the more recent one that he just kind of ran away.
Like the instigator of this entire campaign, basically the instigating moment.
But that's like opportunity.
I think that it's flawed is great though, because like that kind of like spawns forward so many other arguments and conflictions. But it's like that initial moment is like wasn't a perfect moment for Bugaki.
Man,
like it creates like opportunity for character development.
If
there is redeemable qualities to Bugaki.
But it's nice because it leads to Bugaki, I feel like at least partly like wanting to help out Bugogo, right? In this in like these coming episodes, right? Like him really thinking about how he fucked up and what he could do now that they know that Bugogo is in danger. And that leads, I mean, we'll see, but that leads Bugaki on quite the Quite the journey, quite the character arc.
Man, Bugaki is such a silly character, but he's so like it works so well. Like it
Complex,
explains
too.
so much. Like all his
Yeah.
overcompensating, he's trying to be big all the time just to make up for all this shit that he went through.
Yeah.
It's so good.
So real.
Yeah.
Different.
Like people can
Breathing life
relate
into
and the
it.
people can understand why he is the way that he is, and like he's a dick and he's silly and stuff, but like there's a legit reason why.
Different. How'd you make such a real character with such a silly little bug?
Yeah,
He's such a real
genius.
Yeah, exactly.
All I did was took
The camera zooms in to deep friend.
Yeah.
took the shittiest qualities of myself and I put them into one character. And
Wow.
I just looked into myself.
Different became so self-aware that and Bugaki Diggleberry was the result.
Yeah, Bugaki Diggleberry popped out.
Yeah. When Different reached Nirvana, Bugaki Diggleberry happened.
Just
But yeah,
I'm gonna ask him.
the
Completely mock it.
the whole like flashback sequence, like obviously it was stuff like you as players already knew, like stuff that your characters already went through. But I did want to throw in some new information this episode, and that was via Whiskers.
Yeah, that was cool.
I thought it was really cool, and I had this idea like even before I thought of this episode of just like the fact that you're a familiar for a guardian, like your character is a familiar, and you are connected to his mind. But like, what happens when like you're asleep or like you're away from him? Like you still have his memories, but maybe dormant because you didn't experience them. So it's like this is like a perfect opportunity to like access those memories, and then that's how kind of we like prod that little like the Psycho Slug even is interested. Like we prod that little memory to open up like this whole mystery of like what you guys like start to investigate in future episodes.
The concept of Whiskers is such a like funny and like long-winded exploration of a familiar in like 5e, because now we're going into like mechs and like combining our brains, and then there's a Psycho Slug thrown in now too, and he's got all the memories, and like it's pretty cool to explore this, and excited to see what's gonna come up next, which these people are gonna see for like months from now.
Yeah. What we're recording now is like it's like 10 episodes after what we're airing.
And we're in it.
Like such a in D&D it's kind of like such a small like
I know it's not explored at all. Like, oh, you just have a magical connection with this person and you can communicate as long as you're in the same plane, and it's just like not explained, not explored, anything.
And you like expanded that into like this whole like world.
We have a whole culture, we have a whole planet like dedicated to familiars.
And for the viewers, it all started because my character in season 1 has a familiar named Zuzu from this planet Zuzu, and then my idea for this one was I wanted to use a voice mod, and I thought like exploring what it would be like to be a familiar like dog, and just like think from the point of view. I'm petting my dog right now. She's crying because she wants to leave, but I don't want her to leave, so I'm just petting her.
Whiskers is actually played by the dog the whole time. The dog does all the roles.
I try to picture what my dog would do or say in situations.
Speaking of the Psycho Slugs, I honestly can't remember what inspired me to like create like the Psycho Slugs. Like obviously like mind flayers and just like you guys remember Animorphs, like the slugs that go in your head and then take over people, like all like those like that like those like that sluggy body horror shit was kind of inspiring these Psycho Slugs. But also like I wanted a creative way to explore flashbacks that wasn't just like you guys like narrating it or talking about it or like
it worked out so well for a lot of the characters, because I feel like especially with Mikey I had such a hard time like fully diving into a lot of his plot, because he's very like supposed to be kind of shelled off, not really. He still has a lot of stuff and like a lot of hate, but he doesn't like to talk about it. It's just it's very in the pocket. But honestly, my favorite, if watching back, I can't remember, but when it happened, but when I got to do a little bit of young Mikey voice, just for like 3 seconds of it,
little baby
it was
Mikey.
it was so fun.
That's great.
Also, from watching this episode back, I like seeing Mikey's character, like, and I actually felt a lot of emotion towards Mikey's character that I didn't feel the first time we played.
Yeah,
and I was like, damn, like this
it's the music.
It is the music. Yeah,
I feel like also in the moment too. I feel like because we're like kind of like I was laughing for like 10 minutes straight. I think in the recording because of like something that happened between me and Bugaki I think it was the first like grenade that goes off or whatever, and I just couldn't. After that happened, I couldn't stop laughing. But like even in that moment, like there's still like dramatic moments, so we get pulled into our flashbacks. But I'm also like thinking of like I just got fucking like decimated by Bugaki's grenade.
yeah. And then you two like just wrestling, Whiskers and
so in the moment, my brain was like loose, but definitely watching it back, I feel like I paid a lot more attention to like the very emotional bits that we kind of drew out.
Yeah, I thought it'd be cool to have like this creature that like, you know, leeches like vitality from like memories and stuff, but like in a sci-fi universe, like people like taking advantage of that and like building technology that can like extract these things as a way of like subterfuge and like and like gaining intelligence and like spying in a way. So that's kind of that was like the origin of those things, which I mean we'll see
Chris
them come back later.
Chris loves mind flayers. Let's just say that.
I like mind psychic shit.
Yeah, he loves
shit
mind.
But
psychological.
I don't even love it that much. It's just it's because I mean we'll talk about it when he's a guest again or when you see the episode. But when Magnus, our friend Magnus, guests in a couple episodes from now, it's a huge part of his character, and so like that's how I built it kind of from all that. So it did become a big part of this campaign because of that character, which we'll see in a couple episodes. But a lot of mind psychic-y, mind flaying shit to be seen. Yeah. Hey, I think I said at the beginning of this episode, but I was like, I was here to fuck with your minds, and I did. I absolutely did.
Yeah.
But yeah, a nice little cherry on top, just to wrap things up of this whole this whole episode. The bumpy sausage shit. Like we gotta talk about the bumpy sausage. Like when I was writing it, like the Crowless Dog, obviously I talked about like the origin of the name and how I was like on the cruise and I just wanted a hot dog without sauerkraut. But when I was like just world building, because I was like, yeah, they'll have like a couple minutes in this little bar. I was like, yeah, I'll throw in like a funny bit with like there's like a menu with like all these different sausages. Little did I know, like a little bit of world building would lead to this whole like fucking bumpy sausage scene that was so like graphic and like a sensory overload for everybody. Like tastes,
as soon as
smells.
You said bumpy sausage, all of our faces just like
you guys all hyper focused on the
We're like,
bumpy sausage.
wait, let's go back to the bumpy sausage.
Hold on a second.
Yeah.
Well, I think it was great too from my point of view. Like I want to say that Bugaki and Whiskers kind of took the lead on how to approach it, because I was kind of apprehensive at first. I was like, how would me as Mikey, like would I be as like down and gross about this? Would I be kind of felt bad? But I'm like Mikey's kind of like from the dirt too. Like he kind of like hangs out with like lower established foods.
Yeah.
Like, he's not that picky. Right, so after you guys did your parts, I'm like, fuck it, I'm gonna tip this guy a bunch of fucking money for no reason.
I love the dynamic how it's literally like one human and then everyone else is not human. But like we're still alien dudes and we're still bros.
Yeah. Just hanging out at a table.
Yeah.
Funny what a little world building can do to a session. And then, of course, Mordecai Winters. Love that character. Truly just like a throwaway character that I was just like, a guy to receive the drugs that you guys like the drugs were a vessel for the flashback sequence, obviously. Like that was planned. So
and a way to get money and
a way to get money for sure. Yeah. But like and Mordecai Winters.
Callback.
Yeah, and a callback to season 1.
That's true.
With the white powder. But so it was obviously there were many layers to it. But yeah, obviously it was like a little thing. And then Mordecai Winters just like a throwaway character to be on the receiving end to give you guys money. And I didn't even know what his like personality was until like Bugaki started talking to him, and I had like the voice changer on. Me and I'm not even knowing how he sounded, like how cool he sounded, until I watched the recording again.
Oh, you didn't even know what he sounded like until you watched the recording?
Well, because
You
I had
just
the
made
voice
that
changer
on the
on.
spot. Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
I knew it was like a deeper, like more mechanical voice, but I didn't know like what his demeanor would come off as. But yeah, he ends up being such a hilarious character where he's trying to fill his pool with drugs, but he doesn't partake. Like, what is his deal? He just runs off. Like,
he's like kind of American Psycho.
I do hope, after watching this, I do hope we can see Mordecai Winters again.
I feel like we're gonna have to bump into him at some point. Especially if he fills his drugs or pools with drugs.
Yeah. Anyone have any other questions? Anyone in the chat have questions? Any remaining thoughts? Any favorite moments you want to talk about? Again, episode I really
for
love.
the drugs. The only reason that Mikey didn't carry, the only reason I actually did the drugs aggressively was because of Belmont. Like Belmont was the first, I believe, to take the drugs in season 1. And I think he also rolled bad on his first time on the drug.
I wouldn't be surprised.
So, and I think it's kind of cool because, like, I remember Alex was DMing and he was like, I'm going to make a dream sequence where the drugs are affecting your dream and it's going to, like, cause, like, something, like, to happen. And I think I almost, like, walk off a cliff or something in my brain. So it's like,
you should, like, fall into a book. You, like, fell into a book or something.
Like, walked off a cliff into a book. And then I woke up, like, super sweaty. So, like, having that kind of, like, reoccur through different characters with different perspectives, it's kind of fun.
Yeah, one thing I do wish I leaned more into this episode, but I think I was just so focused on like getting the flashback thing like sorted. If I was to redo it again, I would have loved to like have more like psychedelic trippy shit for Mikey to go through, because like it was very mild. Like you saw like Gork and Gek multiply. You heard like
I think it was like
voices.
The way you timed it out though was kind of funny because it almost made you forget that like everyone else kind of had regular conversation points, and then it's like, oh no, Mikey's seeing triple.
Yeah,
and then like for the 2 seconds before I get got.
Yeah, also your flashbacks were like probably like more visceral.
Yeah, they were very fast. Like I want to say, like if you're picturing it visually, it's probably like me failing in school, like in fast motion, like the arm just like fucking swinging around and like music video pacing.
Yeah, I would have loved to do more like weird psychedelic imagery with that, but yeah, I my brain only had so much capacity for like weird shit this episode.
There was so much going on already.
There's a lot going on. But yeah, thank you all for tuning in. That was really, really fun to watch with you guys again, and you know, for you guys to see the edited final version of it, and like, you know, seeing the music and the art. Like shout out to D-Friend for the whisk and the horny art. Like those were dope.
Yeah,
you killed Whisk, man. It was exactly like obviously better than what I pictured, to be honest.
It's like Space the Dude.
And one of my favorite musical moments, just like a personal pat on the back, is when Whiskers awakens. The music is like nice during that sequence. It was like very magical. Yeah, I when I added that track, I was like, oh, this like changes the vibe of the scene so much. It's really nice.
Yeah,
it was very wholesome.
It was very wholesome.
Because obviously when we're recording, it's just me like talking about like what he's feeling, but then the music really adds to it.
Music really
affects. So
we will be back next. So obviously, in like half an hour at midnight, we will be dropping this episode online on all platforms, and then we'll be back next Monday for episode 9. Bogogo. The Battle of Bogogo.
Okay, yes.
So we're getting
shit
starting to get real. Like this is like this new arc, like where things are really happening.
Is that one a super feature? I can't remember. I feel like that one's a heavy one.
Yeah,
I feel like we do a lot.
You do a lot. You do a lot.
You affect the story and the universe. Let's just say we do things that affect how things go in the universe.
Things happen and cause things to happen.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I would not miss that one.
That's a new set of chain reactions that we started.
Hey, if you like frogs, tune in next week. There's a whole lot of frogs. Whole planet of them.
Crow frogs.
But yes, no, don't want to spoil anything else. It's a great episode, especially if you like Kurosawa movies. Yeah, I know. What a weird thing to say, but you'll have to find out. Anyways, we will see you guys next week. Thank you all for tuning in. Love y'all, and till next time. Over and out.
Bye.
Oh.